Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and today we have some massive Remnant 2 news to go over in the form of Devloop 2. This one going over armor changes which are coming with the next patch, and I'm really looking forward to this because I do think the meta has gotten a little bit stale, so hopefully with the next patch we have a lot more viability of different builds and armor sets that you can use in the game to be successful. So first off, they talk about how last time they talked about damage reduction, which already got some changes. They're also going to cover in this one armor to weight ratio, survivability, and ignoring trade-offs. And I think that's something people need to think about because like with Bright Steel Ring, which is pretty much best in slot for any ring in the game, has to be some reason to run other things or a reason other things are viable. With the Bright Steel Ring, you could just slap that on, throw on any armor set that you want, and go have fun with whatever build you're using. So I think that's something that absolutely needed to be looked on. So, and they say because of the heavy armors, Lito's MK2, for example, didn't have a heavy enough stamina cost. They become the obvious choice for most builds. It's true. Pretty much everyone, especially when you get to the higher difficulty tiers, was running the heavier armor sets for survivability, and it meant that a lot of the other armor sets weren't viable, and the fast movement playstyle wasn't as successful as it could have been because of how easy it was to slot on heavy armor, Bright Steel Ring, and then just enjoy the game from there, just tank everything. So it was pretty crazy how strong that launched. They talk about how the differences of it between Remnant 1 from the Ashes and also Remnant 2. So as far as the changes, they are adjusting the initial armor to weight ratios for a lot of the armors. This is going to make lighter armors more efficient, while heavier armors are going to be less efficient, meaning you have to have a trade-off. You can't just roll around as much as you like with a heavier armor just like you would with a light armor. It didn't make sense, to be honest, and they go into details about the armors that are changing, like the bandit armor all the way up to the Lito's MK1 and MK2 as well. So it's not going to pinpoint exact. Some armors have their weight adjusted, but overall the ratios feel a lot fairer. So that's going to be interesting to see. I'm hopeful that you can run different types of armor sets with a bunch of different builds and they will feel better than they did previously, but we're going to have to wait and see. Same thing with stamina cost penalties. They adjusted the cost penalties for each weight class to match what they say in the game. Previously, they are 0, 15, 30, and 45%, whereas the information in the UI says that they are 0, 25, 50, and 75. So they've adjusted them to those costs. So once again, it's going to be advantageous to run lighter armor and have that trade-off there to be speedy if you want to. So as far as the Bright Steel Ring, they are actually changing the name to Dull Steel Ring, which is hilarious. I love when devs do this. And it's going to actually reduce the weight class by 1 from now on, meaning that it'll go from heavy to medium, medium to light, etc. And that's, I think, going to be a good option, in my opinion, because it'll still be viable. If you want to run a heavy set but roll around like it's a medium set, it's still a great option. However, it's not the must-have, everyone wears it type of option that is just usable for any single player no matter what their build is. And I think that's what they want to get away with, and I think it is smart, especially heading into the next DLC. You don't want the next DLC content to be trivialized because the game is just far too easy, because you can slap on heavy armor and the Bright Steel Ring and ignore basically any armor penalties in the game. So I do like that change a lot. They are making some things better in conjunction with that, which I think is also very vital. So they're buffing the strong back trait, which is nice. They're also adjusting some of the survivability trinkets, which is massive. And this is something that I wish every dev knew, like Diablo 4 is a perfect example of this. When you are nerfing some things, you want the buffs to outweigh the nerfs. You want more buffs to things that are underutilized than straight up nerfs, because just having nerfs makes the game feel bad because you just feel less powerful overall. Whereas if you add a bunch of buffs into the game as well and make some things that weren't viable even better and allow you to use them in different builds, what that allows people to do is adjust their build instead of destroying it completely, or make a new build that's just as fun as their last one. And that's one of the things that I think developers don't often think about. They want to have balance in their game, which is understandable, but you also got to remember the fun fantasy factor of that. You want the game to feel like it's still enjoyable to play. And when you just nerf everything to the ground, and now all of a sudden every build you have is just hitting less, you're dying a lot faster, then it just feels really bad, you know? And so instead, you want to have all of these buffs to coincide with whatever nerfs are coming, so that way you still feel like you can make a build to have a similar playstyle or a new player style that's just in fun, instead of having your old sets wrecked. So as far as the trinkets, here are some examples. They have Leto's Amulet, which increases stamina cost reduction. They've got Blood Tinge Ring, which increases range from 10 to 25 meters, which is pretty massive, to be honest. Same thing with the Fey Bruiser Ring, increased duration from 7 seconds to 15. That's a over double, which is kind of wild. So I think a lot of these changes could make them a lot more interesting to use. And I'm really curious. I'm going to try a lot of them out and see how well they work, because I would love to have a more variety of rings and trinkets and amulets be viable in end game content and content in general, because I know everyone wants to feel powerful, but it's just a bummer when some of these things feel supremely weak. Now, as far as the strong back trait, they are going to adjust the encumbrance. Without the strong back, medium dodge is 26 to 50. With it, it's 41 to 65, which again is a massive change. You can wear much different armor with that strong back trait than you could without it, which I think is huge. That's going to be really nice. They're also probably going to bring back up here encumbrance reduction trait, but it'll be choice instead of mandatory for the challenger, which I think is a good idea as well. They have miscellaneous fixes like misstep working properly with melee follow-ups. Good. A lot of these changes are necessary because I think there are still some bugs and issues throughout the game, so knowing that they're continuing to work on that stuff is going to be nice. And then finally, loadouts. This is what I'm most looking forward to in the game. I can't wait to get hands-on with loadouts so I can have a bunch of different options and just change to them on the fly. One of the biggest downsides about this game is every time I want to make some adjustments to my build, if I want to do a different build for certain pieces of content, I have to go in and manually change everything, and it just becomes a little bit tedious. It does slow the game down quite a bit. So loadouts are going to be great, and then I'll have like my best in slot that I'll use for the harder content. Especially, this is mostly true when I'm playing co-op with my buds and I'm just running builds to like level things up and everything. But if we stumble across a more difficult boss, I want to have that option to quickly change to my best in slot stuff, so that way I can have the build that is going to be successful and help carry them through whatever content that might be if they are struggling. So that's why I'm really looking forward to loadouts, and it allow me to make a lot more builds, so I'm really looking forward to that as well. They also talk about they're going to do a pass on weapons, mods, archetypes, and even traits. Again, massive. All this stuff, if they keep buffing the underutilized stuff to go alongside with some minor nerfs that I think are necessary to outliers, I think the game will be a fantastic spot and will really build a little bit more excitement towards the next DLC, because now everyone will have new builds to check out heading into that, which is also really, really nice. Keep in mind, these are not the only things we're looking at, constantly on the lookout for issues, and the team is dedicated to taking care of stuff as quickly as possible. I think Gunfire Games has done a tremendous job with the game so far, not only with some of the updates, but also the base game itself was phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds for this game, because I've been having way too much fun with it. I really am excited about future content. We know multiple DLC are probably on the way, and I can't wait to dive back in to the game and the new content and all that kind of good stuff. And even when this patch comes out, I can't wait to check out some of the builds and make some new ones that are hopefully going to be as good, if not better, than my previous builds. So let me know what you guys think of these changes in the comments down below. And also, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Remnant 2 content from me going forward. After the patch, I will make some new build stuff, so definitely keep an eye out for that. My name is JoPa. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you all later.